Now, if you've been down the driving range and watched your fellow golfers hit the ball for miles with what seems like zero effort, and you're bashing the hell out of the golf ball and it's going nowhere, you may question why that is happening. Well, in today's video, I'm going to get you to look at a data parameter that is very much overlooked, one I hadn't considered has such an impact on your overall performance. What we're effectively going to do is look to hit the ball further without increasing our club head speed. But the one key thing we are going to do is look at something called spin loft and how much of an impact it has on your game and your overall performance. And that's going to be with driver. It's a key problem. And effectively what spin loft does, or the impact it has, is the ball flight on your ball, or the loft you add to the already, in this case I've got 10.5 degree driver. If I delivered that flush and square, in effect, we would be launching the ball with 10.5 degrees of loft. If I start to deliver that club face with a little bit open, let's say, then all of a sudden I'm starting to add loft, and I'm adding very dangerous and an impactful spin loft, and that impact is very, very negative indeed. If we then start to open that club face, and for me, what I've seen in this lesson from Danny Maud, and I'll speak about that very shortly, it's an impact that is greatly happens on slices of the golf ball. So if you're fading the ball, then you really want to tune in and see how you correct something very, very simply that will see you hitting the ball further without increasing club head speed, but it will impact on how you launch the ball. So very simply, if I was, and I am, a slicer of the golf ball, my setup will generally mean that I'm hitting a club or a swing path that slides across the ball, and very much can be with an open club face. And if I was to do that with a, let's see what we got there. So we've got a club head speed of 81.4 mile an hour, and we've got spin loft of 25.5 degrees. So effectively, the fade is fine. We've got 163 yards in terms of how far we've hit the ball, but that spin loft is having a real negative impact on how far that ball is going. And in essence, it's going too high, and I am adding loft through my delivery in the way I'm delivering that club. So the first thing we're going to do, because there's a number of steps to this, is we're going to look at step one and how we start to bring down that spin loft and how much impact it has on how far my drives go. Now, before we go any further, this video was originally from Danny Maud. I picked up this tutorial just a few weeks back. I was really interested because I've never paid any attention to spin loft in the past, and this is my interpretation. So this is by no means a lesson, do not get confused. I am not trying to tell people how to play golf. What I'm trying to do is, from my own learnings and trying out YouTubers' tips, and in this case Danny Maud, how successful it's been. And it's not just a case of results, it's about understanding what spin loft is and how it has impacted on my performance in the past, and how by me trying to negate that, it can have a positive impact on my own results. But of course, there will be a link down below in the description for Danny's video for a full and better explanation probably than the one I'm going to give you in today's video. Right, but for now, on to step one. How do we start curing this spin loft?
Today's video was filmed at Chester and North Wales Golf Academy.
So step one is very, very simple indeed, and it's about the way we set up to the golf ball, which can often have so many issues or lead to so many issues and have such an impact on our end result. So pretty much standard golf ball just inside the left foot for a right-handed golfer, that is. And what again can be a really sort of negative is you'll see hips back, shoulders back, very much behind the ball, concentrating on, or can be, a very steep delivery, and then coming across, leaning backwards and sending that club head left of target. And like I said, with a sort of upward blow, if you like, and club face open. That's what happened with the first shot. What we're going to try and do this time, first round, is we're going to shift the hips from here, and we're going to move them slightly forward. We're also going to, again, or I'm going to make a physical attempt to move the the handle on my slightly forward as well of the golf club. So I'm in a very different position. So instead of my sort of behind the ball, hopefully you can see the shift over, hips wise rather than sway, and hands slightly forward. And all we're going to do is make the swing from here. That is it at this stage. Okay, wow. I think I'm as surprised as you are in many ways. So concentrating on those parameters again. Yes, we increased club head speed a bit, so we've got to be mindful of that, but we also decreased that spin loft considerably, almost by 10 degrees. And what that resulted in was a carry distance of an additional sort of 40 or 50 yards. I can't remember the first number, it's 160 odd. So that's an incredible difference in a ball flight by changing one simple thing. That changing, or that change that I made, which was moving the hip slightly forward and hands slightly forward, gave me a much different position at impact. And that rather than sort of swaying and sliding across the ball, I felt like it was much more of, it felt almost like a descending blow, but it clearly wouldn't have been. But we've been able to bring that spin loft down, like I said, by 10 degrees and increase 50 yards on our previous strike, with what is effectively, I think we had 3 mile an hour club head speed a little bit faster, but that shouldn't equate to 50 yards in extra carry distance if that spin loft remained at 25.6 degrees, which the first one was. So that's point one. We've already dramatically increased our distance and our carry without any additional effort as yet. We're just concentrated on keeping that spin loft, ball flight, a lot lower. On to stage number two. Right, so next step is all about how we turn rather than sway, which is really important as well. And by swaying, obviously moving back to one side and then to the other, there's a huge amount of error in between all that can mean, unless your timing is spot on the day, things can go incredibly wrong. So it's how we start to use the ground, how we start to use the turn to generate more power effectively. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to look to turn out our back foot a little bit, our right foot in this case, or in my case. And we're in the driving position. And then as we turn, we're going to start to load into this right leg. So rather than, like I said, rather than sway, we're going to look to almost, and again, Danny talks about the right foot coming off the ground, left foot rather, coming off the ground for some golfers, and we're going to look to get into this strong position by turning the hips and loading onto this right leg rather than swaying over. And I think that's hugely important, and as I say, from my own personal experience, swaying can be a real issue. So I'm in my position, I've got hips slightly forward, and on this occasion what I'm going to do is load into that right hip, and straight away we can feel a sort of I feel like at this point it's almost inevitable that we're going to increase club head speed. So Danny talks at the beginning of the video, as I have done, about not increasing club head speed. I feel like what's going to happen next is I'm going to start to increase club head speed. It almost feels impossible. So let's see how that goes. Still leaning forward, right foot turned a little bit. That's interesting. Okay, so a slight pull, but we've yet again brought that spin loft even further down. As I suggested, club head speed has gotten increased, and we've increased distance by a little bit, not as much as I would have liked to have seen from that increase in club head speed. So I'd need to practice that. There's a few more shots of me giving this a go and seeing what happens. But it certainly gives you a point of concentration. I'm glad we've managed to keep that spin loft down to that realistic number. I think, again, in Danny's video, he suggests that below 15 degrees is a sort of perfect number to be in. But what I would like to see, like I said, is just getting a little bit more comfortable. I felt on that swing, particularly on camera, I was sort of a little bit rigid, a little bit mindful of what I was trying to execute. But the interesting bit for me, and I didn't actually try to execute it in that part, was stage 3, the final piece of the jigsaw, if you like, that I really want to try. And this is what happens next. Right, so the final piece of the jigsaw, or maybe the most important in terms of getting that spin loft down. So the few shots you hit, and certainly the last one, I just had a little bit of a practice with. Spin loft at 17, so it's massively different from when we started. It's also a straighter shot, less cut on it. So really, it's all about concentrating on how I'm delivering that club head, which has been really key to doing a lot of positive things, to be honest with you. But the last one is about what our concentration is through impact. Danny talks about where the club head goes and where it finishes through the swing, and what he essentially says is he really doesn't care where it finishes, because what happens at that impact location is really key to our end results, and how we generate perhaps a little bit extra club head speed through that impact location could be key to bringing down spin loft, increasing that overall distance that we carry in terms of yardage. So through this area, what he's looking essentially for us to do is increase, and he talks about, again, a personal thing, beating a mat on a washing line, so looking to really whack into that mat and create as much club head speed as you can through a short space. We've done this kind of thing before, but then he talks about creating a little gate, a little window, which is perhaps 12, 18 inches in front of the golf ball. And what he tries to do is make an effort to try and get the golf ball through that gate. So first of all, it's concentrating on keeping it, at least in my eyes, keeping the club head very square. What you don't want to do, any suggestion that club face is open or closed means we're going to miss the gate. And secondly, it looks as though we're driving through the ball through that impact location, again, which hopefully impacts on spin loft as well. So everything the same, we're going to set up, hips slightly forward, flare out the right foot a bit, and then I'm going to really try and go through that impact location. I feel as though I've just dragged it a bit down the left, which is really annoying because everything else really worked, but I could feel the club face closing with my extra effort, but I feel like I can make a difference and tweak that. But look just what impact it's had on spin loft, 13.9, so in effect I've closed the face, which is not a positive in this sense, but it's really done what we intended to do. I just need to work with it. The 93 club head speed remained the same as some of those other shots, but we're now looking at 244 yardage covered. So before I end this, I'm going to hit one more shot. I'm going to try and do the same thing and not shut that club face, and I'm going to try and get this ball going through that gate and straight. So open the foot up. Let's see what that does. Might be down the left-hand side, which it was. But again, really got the club face a lot more square through impact. Spin loft down a tad again, remaining at kind of 15 degrees, which is the target we set out at. You can see club head speed is increasing all the while. And even though I didn't feel that was perfect, and again would still need some practice, from where we started off, and if you think back to that first swing with 163 yards, yes, club head speed was way down. But you can clearly see how that club face being open and adding loft to your drives can have such a negative impact. So there's a lot to learn from this tuition video from Danny, and maybe just understanding what that club head is doing through impact is the key takeaway, and how by controlling that it can have a massive impact on your overall performance. I hope that was a good enough explanation. Like I said, I love this channel. I love the support this channel is getting right now. Please comment down below, let me know what you thought of this. Hit the like button, do all those things. It's a massive help to how this channel grows. And also, if you've got some ideas or tips that you've seen that you suggest I take a look at, then please feel free to let me know, and we'll take a look and see if we can bring our interpretation. And like I said, for anybody that gets confused, this isn't me giving a lesson, this isn't any form of tuition, it's just my interpretation of a tip that I've learned something from and I relate to you, to hopefully is of some benefit, and you can take something from it. Right, I'm done. Slightly out of breath. That was a bit of effort with the driver. I enjoyed that one. Hope you did too, and I'll see you all soon.